Hi guys, welcome to Parlour Tea. I am alone today. Genevieve is out doing the Lord's work. No, she is out at the Woodbridge Public Library, showing and teaching people how to read and tarot cards. So it will be me, and it will be our lovely guest. So we have a new series that we decided to put together. And as you may or may not know, Sarah Blake, which is from Twin Crow Tarot. Also, she is a historian from HushedUpHistory.com. And we decided to do a wonderful series of haunted locations, which included many different places that you guys could visit. So welcome to the first haunted road trip with Sarah Blake. So we're going to bring Sarah on. Hi,
Hey!
Sarah.
How are you?
I'm good. So before
Awesome.
we start, I'm very excited over this. I think it's going to be a really great opportunity for people to get to know areas that we like, you've been, I've been. I think it's a really great opportunity for people that would love to go on adventures that are somewhat close, not that expensive, but really something that you really are interested in doing and fun. So, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, and then you can introduce what we're talking about tonight.
Sure. So, my name is Sarah Blake of HushedUpHistory.com. I created HushedUpHistory.com almost 10 years ago. And it focuses on the stranger, lesser known parts of history that get left out of a lot of textbooks and a lot of stories. I'm also Sarah Blake of Twin Crows Tarot. I've been a tarot reader for almost 10 years. And you may have seen me on here before for one reason or another on the Parlour Tea. But John had this idea of haunted road trip, places that people can go to experience these amazing paranormal or just fantastic historical haunted places. And of course, I said I thought it was a great idea. So I was all in right away. And here we are, first one.
Yay! I'm excited.
Yay!
I really am very excited. I think it's a great opportunity for people to get a chance to hear about opportunities to go to some really fun places, and then get a chance to go with and experience some of the things that we've experienced or experienced. So we are talking about
one of my favorite places, the Shanley Hotel of Napanoch, New York.
So just so you know, guys, at the very bottom, if you wanted to find out more information, or you wanted to go, or you wanted to do these things after, we have put on the bottom ticker that you guys could see the haunted Shanley Hotel.com, so you guys can book and so on. So that's great.
Yeah. They have a lot of amazing evidence on their site too. A lot of EVPs, a lot of photographs, and a lot of just the stories on there. So definitely check out their website.
But that's great. I actually went through this a little bit, which was great. I was excited to talk about it because I've heard such amazing things from so many different people, you included.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you do it in the way that we could talk about the history of it, and then go to the other side of it.
Sure, absolutely. So Shanley Hotel, Napanoch, New York. When you pull up to this building, it strikes you. It is a very, very old building. It is a beautiful building. The Shanley Hotel was first built in 1845, and it was originally called the Riches Hotel on Main Street. And Napanock, it's in New York State, and there's mountains around it, and it's just this very, very peaceful area. But Napanock used to be a place that people used to go to when they were trying to get away from the cities, hence why they would build this hotel that people would go to. So it was built in 1845. The original structure was as a hotel, so it's been a functioning hotel for all of its history. In 1895, it actually burned to the ground, completely burned to the ground. There was a massive fire in Napanock, but the owner at the time, Adolf Wagner, he didn't waste any time. He knew what he had. He knew he had to get the place back on its feet. He had it rebuilt by November of that year. It exchanged hands a lot, but then we come to the namesake, James Shanley. The Shanley family immigrated from Ireland. They came into New York City, and they were extremely successful with restaurants and hotels in and around New York City, to the point that there's a much wider story to this, but I will just say that there was a point in time where Times Square was going to have the name Shanley as its namesake. That's how prominent and how successful this family was. He came to own it in October of 1906, and of course he became the namesake of the Shanley Hotel that we still have today. He expanded on the building, the original building. He added things like a bowling alley and a billiard room. There was a barber shop, and it really became like a hotspot for people to go to. And people went to it not just because of the amenities, but James Shanley was also beloved by his community. When he got married, he married Beatrice Rowley. They went to their honeymoon in Washington, D.C., and when they came home, the community had a welcome parade for him to come back to. Like, this was a man who was was known to be very kind-hearted, and he was beloved by the people in his community. He also had some friends in high places. He and his wife Beatrice became very, very good friends with the Roosevelts. They attended their inaugural ball when Roosevelt was elected president. Eleanor Roosevelt was a frequent guest at the Shanley Hotel, hence why there is a Roosevelt room in the hotel. But as beloved and as wonderful and how positive and wonderful this building was, there were a lot of tragedies in the hotel. Beatrice and James, they had 3 children, and they all died before they were a year old. Yeah. Like I said, they all died before they were a year old. And the barber shop that I had mentioned that James Shanley built there, the barber who used to live there, excuse me, Peter Gregor, he had a daughter, Rosie. And when Rosie was 3 years old, she disappeared from the hotel, and she was found at the bottom of a well across from the hotel. Yeah. Beatrice's sister, Esther, also died in the hotel at approximately 1918 of influenza. So as beautiful and as positive and welcoming as this building was, it does have a good share of tragedies that came with it. And that has only added to the many, many layers of the Shanley Hotel.
So it's been transferred to many different people, right?
Yes.
Were they people that bought the site, or were they passed down from generational?
No, it was a lot of different owners. A lot of different owners over the years. And Shanley, of course, is the namesake of the hotel. He was the main person who built this hotel into what it looks like today. Like I said, they were friends with the Roosevelts that were there very, very often. After he died, his wife Beatrice eventually sold the hotel to Allen Hazen, and he ran the hotel until his death in 1971. Passed around a couple more times. At one point, it did close in 1991, and it was abandoned for almost 10 years until 2005 when it was purchased again. And then when that owner passed away, he passed away in 2016. His name was Sal, and I'm going to mispronounce his last name. Sal Nicosia. That's probably wrong, but Sal. When he passed away.
Yeah,
Sal, back. And then the current owners purchased it in, I believe it was 2018. And they really brought it back to life and turned it into this amazing place that it is today.
So, how many times have you visited this?
I've been to the Shanley 5 times.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into the history of it, I just want to ask, like the other side of the history,
The other part of the history too.
the paranormal side of the history.
Yeah.
What is the draw? Like, why do you love to go to this place? What is
for me, I mean, obviously the paranormal aspect of it is a huge draw. This place, there's a lot of places that say, oh, we're haunted, come see us. The Shanley is real deal. You will experience things in this building that you will not experience anywhere else. Anybody I know who is a skeptic, I always tell them, like, if you want to go to the Shanley, you'll believe it. You'll believe what's happening here. The place is just incredible. I firmly believe that the Shanley Hotel deserves to be in top 10. Every top 10 paranormal list, every top 10 paranormal building conversation that there is.
Right.
So besides the awesome paranormalness of it, I mean, like I said, the building is just beautiful. I'm a historian, I always love these old buildings, but just what they have done to this building, they've kept it partially where, like I said, it's kind of like a time capsule. You go in and there's all of these elements of the heyday of the 1800s and all of these like timestamps throughout the building. There was a point in time where James Shanley, I mentioned the additions he put on of the billiard room and all of these other things. At another point, there was a bordello that was added to the building. So there's all these like different layers to it. And it's just such an experience to walk into this building and see all of these elements, all of these different chunks of these time periods just coexisting together in such a fantastic way that is so welcoming and so comfortable. And just, like I said, like if you go in, like the floors have original etchings on them, like the original stenciling. It's just so interesting and so beautiful. And it's really a testament to the current owners of how amazing this amazing space they've been able to create while still honoring the building's past.
And that's I think is really great that people, because there's so many beautiful places that are abandoned that were such a regular, like let's talk about Asbury Park. Asbury Park was absolutely stunning. It was a heyday that it was a must go to. And as it went along, it took 2 times for that place to get that rejuvenated body of life back into it. But
absolutely,
it was such a beautiful place to go and visit that it was,
to
me, in my eyes, I loved going there more than when we ended up going to Seaside. And I'm not putting anything down. I'm just saying that it was beautiful.
Yeah.
At the time when we were growing up, that's where we went.
Yeah.
So I think that if we want to go and do it this way, why don't we talk about the ghosts that inhabit? You let me know if you're okay with that. We talk about the ghosts that inhabit it, maybe talk about the things that people witness, and maybe you tell us your experiences, if that's where you want to go, unless you want to go another way.
No, that's cool. Because the Shanley, that's another thing. Like, when they talk about the ghosts of the Shanley, there's a lot. This isn't like, oh, we have 2 that you might see, floating around at one point. There's a lot of spirits that inhabit this building. It has a very long history. It has a very long history as a hotel. So this was a place where people came and left. There was a rotating cast in this building and leaving their imprint on this building. And it's still very much like that. There are spirits that have been seen in the Shanley that are, there are some people that claim to have seen Beatrice, James Shanley's wife, or smelled her perfume. At the same time, we have a spirit of a serial killer. decades after James Shanley was in the building. So very similar to how the building have different timestamps for each room, that you feel like you're walking through these different eras and these different layers. It's the same thing with the spirits that inhabit the building. There's a huge variety. One of the spirits that is seen the most, heard the most, captured on a lot of EVPs is the little girl Rosie. If you go to the website, the Shanley website, there's a couple of EVPs that people believe are Rosie, and they're incredible. they're not in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes you'll hear these EVPs and they're very staticky, and you really have to kind of decipher like what's being heard. Right. Not these. These are crystal clear, the voice of this little girl that one time called the Shanley her home. So it's just a huge variety of spirits, of architecture, of all these things combined into one. Like I said, there's Beatrice, who owned the Shanley. We have Rosie, who I've mentioned, the little girl who tragically died on the property. We have the serial killer who used to live who is upstairs, Adam. There is Frank, who used to be a bouncer at the bordello. We have the ladies who worked at the bordello. There's a ghost cat, because of course there's a ghost cat. Exactly. So there's just so many of them, and there are rooms. I should maybe say a little bit about the layout of the Shanley. There is a basement that you can go into as part of the guided portion of the Shanley Hotel experience. Then there is the first floor, where you can access the gentlemen's quarters, the stairwell that goes up to the bordello, and their main kind of like meeting area, the sitting area with a fireplace and couches and a kitchenette. And then there is the next level, where are a lot of the bedrooms. And then there's a third level. And in that third level is unfinished. There are no lights. It is left in the state that it is left in. So again, talking about all these layers and these different atmospheres that are in this building. Adam, the serial killer, is on the unfinished level. There's the gentleman's quarters on the main floor, where I've captured audio of dice being thrown and voices and things of that nature. The ghost cat, I know multiple people that have seen the ghost cat scurrying around during an investigation. There is a room on the third floor where a young woman named Claire, unfortunately, took her own life. There's a lot of different spirits from a lot of different areas with very, very different circumstances. I see Jay is mentioning Maddie. She was one of the ladies who worked at the bordello with Anna. Every time I've stayed there, Anna and Maddie have been very vocal and have been very active. And that's another thing, is these spirits, they're very willing to engage with the people that are there. You're not fighting for evidence with these spirits. They are very comfortable speaking, moving, making things known. I've had my hair touched. I've had clothing tugged. It's a very, very active, wonderful place.
Well, several questions here.
Sure.
We'll end it with the serial killer, because I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Because I don't really know a lot of the other history things. And I know that people are like, oh, it's scary, I don't want to do it. But if you think about this in a different way, and I say this all the time, to know that there is a life after death, that you have these experiences, that I think it eases people's mind a little bit, that there is a way, because we are all energy, right?
Right.
And our energy just moves from our shell and moves to a different realm, no matter where you go or what it is. It's kind of nice and saddening in its own way that these people are around, that they didn't get the opportunity to pass on, or like if people had haunted items, right? And that they're attached to something, that thing meant so much more to them than anybody else that they've ever met in their lives, to me is kind of sad, but it's really intriguing that they're attached to something. And these people must be attached to the home because that's what they loved or they wanted to be there.
Mm.
So I'm assuming, I could be wrong. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, going back to what you said about there being this comfort of this idea of life after death. It's an answer to the biggest question we have as humans, is what happens when this is all gone. And I mean, loss of that type, and I don't mean just loss in the terms of death, but any like sudden loss like that. The idea of something that you have that's constant suddenly disappearing in any context is scary. So to have this little bit of like, okay, well, it's gone, but not really gone.
Right.
You know, it is a very kind of calming, comforting thing to a lot of people to know that you're not something that just like dust in the wind and you're gone.
Right.
There is this energy that keeps going.
So I think all of this is intriguing. And, you know, I think that, you know, out of any of the places that you've heard of or been, right, would you consider the Shanley something like if you're going, you're seeing something, you're hearing something? There's 100% no way around it. You're going
100%.
to do it.
100%.
Okay. I mean,
100%.
Really very cool too.
Because how the investigations, or if you rent it out for a private event, because you can rent it out to have the entire building just to yourself, for yourself and your party. Tracy will guide you, one of the people who works at the Shanley. Wonderful. How you start your experience at the Shanley, so to speak, is they have gear, but they also encourage you to have your own gear with you. And they take you on a investigation to different parts of the building for a couple hours. I believe it's 2 to 3 hours. You go from the basement all the way up to that third floor of rooms. And then after that, you're free to roam on your own.
Oh.
After that initial investigation with the staff of the Shanley, it's yours to roam wherever you want. Of course, be respectful of the building, of course.
Right, of course.
But you are able to investigate as you wish, where you wish, using whatever gear you may or may not want to use. So yeah, but absolutely 1,000%. Like, if you go to this building, you will experience something.
That's great.
100%.
That's awesome. So hold that thought, because I was told that Genevieve told me I had to say this. So before I forget it, because it came in my head, please like, share. And we also have, I hate doing that. And we also have our YouTube channel, which is the Parlour Keyport on YouTube. Go check us out. You could see some past things. We've gotten better, so don't make fun of us, which is great. And then we appreciate it. So I like to hear about the serial killer.
Okay. I will fully admit to you, I am not super well versed on Adam the serial killer.
Okay.
I believe he was active in either the 1960s or 1970s.
Okay. And
he inhabits one particular room on that third floor with the no lights, left as is. Adam is very aggressive. He is not a friendly spirit, obviously. You know, you would think. But I know a lot of people who that is one of the rooms that they experience things, they hear things. I know friends of mine that have stayed and they've left recording devices in that room, and they've left the room, and when they've listened back after, very aggressive. When no one else was in this room or even on the same floor, very aggressive, stomping, a very, very angry energy out of that room. But that is definitely one of the go-to rooms in the Shanley is Adam's room. Be careful with what you say, but Adam's room. Yeah.
So, how many people do you know who he murdered? Do you know? The count?
I don't know offhand. I apologize.
How many it is for someone to be considered a serial killer? No, I'm just saying. I just think it's kind of intriguing
Mm.
to figure, to find that out. But that's really cool that, you know, there's so many different, like you say, layers. I get the
Mhm.
layers. I do. I get that. I get that, you know, whatever, like, our building where we are,
Yeah.
that's from like the late 1800s, early 1900s. And, there's so many different pieces.
Crossing paths
Correct.
like a train station.
Let's see. Murdered. Am I? Wait. There you go. There's Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hey. Hey, Rachel.
And we have another comment from it. Doesn't three or more equal a serial killer? I don't know. I no idea. Wait, what is that? I would think so. There you go, Jay.
Okay. There we go. There's the benchmark number 3.
And there's one more. Rachel says,
Hi.
So what are some of your experiences that you like? Tell us about, like, I know that did you go with Scott?
I have. Scott Davis is the one who actually introduced me to the Shanley Hotel.
Okay.
And I've been there a couple of times. I've been there were for events that he held there, and then I've just been there another handful of times just on my own. But I mean, there's been experiences. There's like the group experiences, because a lot of times when people are there, you'll split off into your own little groups. One group will go on this floor, another on this floor. I have had the first time I was ever there, I was in that upper 3rd floor with a group of Scots, and we were in one of the rooms, and I felt, I mean, full flat hand, individual fingers touch the top of my head and go all the way down my hair. My hair was down at the time. They had, I believe it was an Ovilus app that was running on their phones that had says the words that spirits are saying to you. And there were 2 Sarahs in the group. And it said the name, Sarah, which enough was like, oh, okay. But it was Scott who was like, well, which Sarah? Which Sarah are you talking about? And it said historian. Ooh. It was like, oh, me. Hi. I have had flashlights of mine turn on and off. I have had my clothing tugged. A group of us went into, there is the gentleman's quarters, is one room that it's a very large room. It sleeps 10 people. And that was a room that at one time was a lot of drinking, gambling, the party room of the heyday, right? And we had a spirit box running, and there's a deck of cards. And we sat there, and we had one person with the cards, and we had another person playing as the spirit's representative, and we played a game of cards. And I mean, these are things that I'm very much somebody who, to any paranormal investigation, I tell people, not everything is paranormal. Really take a look at the surroundings. Really take a look at the relevancy of what you're asking and the response. Look at all of the causes to really determine. And when you have something where you're sitting in a room for, 10, 15 minutes with a deck of cards, and you are having direct responses, it's something that's very difficult to say is fake. Right. When you have flashlights sitting on beds and on bookshelves, and you say, and these are flashlights that you brought, so you know that these are just regular flashlights, and you say, can you turn that on for me, please? And it turns on. Can you turn that off for me, please? And it turns off. These are things that are very, very difficult to say are not genuine responses. Right. So I've had those experiences, the card game, the flashlights. I've had the hand run down my hair. One of the most wild experiences I had, I was there with Jay, and we were staying in, I believe it was the Roosevelt room. And Jay had gone to bed. He was asleep. I was in the room. I was getting ready to go to sleep. And when I say sleep, keep in mind, anytime I've ever stayed there, it's 4 a.m. by the time you're done and you start to get tired, because you want to stay up all night and just investigate, because you're having so much amazing things happen. And I was getting ready to go to sleep. Jay was asleep, and he suddenly goes, hey, Sarah. And I turned and I was like, what? Jay was out cold. Jay was asleep. It was not him. It was the first time I've ever encountered like a mimic. Was at the Shanley Hotel.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I get that. It's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes we've heard things, and like Genevieve would be like, "Did you call me?" I know. I just came in. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That wasn't even that.
Clear as day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, groups of friends and I, again, on that third floor. I don't mean to keep emphasizing on just the third floor. Things happen on every floor of that building. But, I mean, you will see things kind of peek out from a corner. You'll see a dark shape, and then it goes back. You'll see movement, just flat out shapes just walk past doorways and corridors. One of the more recent times I was there with my whole family. And two members of my family went up to the bordello. They went up to Anna's room. And the way it's set up is, here's Anna's room. There's a stairwell that goes right downstairs from Anna's room, and it goes right in front of the gentleman's quarters. I was walking past the bottom of the stairs, and you heard this bang. This very loud bang. And I didn't think too much of it. I just kept walking. And then my two family members ran down the stairs, and they're like, we went into Anna's room, and the door slammed shut behind us. Did you hear it? And I'm like, oh, that's what that was.
Okay.
So, yeah. Other friends of mine, the last time I was there, actually, a friend of mine, Garrett Wanty, he was staying in Anna's room, and he has video evidence of the blankets being tugged while he was asleep, and people knocking on his door. So it's a lot. It's a lot that goes on there.
So Jay just said footsteps and something sitting on the bed in Maddie's room is another example.
Yep, absolutely. The first time we stayed there, we stayed in Maddie's room, and we heard this noise all night. And I believe it was kind of cold out the first time we had stayed there, and I figured it was like the heater, or it was something in pipes or whatever. The next morning, as we were going to leave, is when we were walking around the room, and we both realized, oh, that's what we were hearing all night, is footsteps walking around the perimeter of the bed.
So being a historian here,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the same kind of idea if I asked this question, but you could tell me. So why do you think places are haunted?
Well, going back to what you said about how we're all energy, I firmly believe that, well, there's multiple different kinds of hauntings, but we leave impressions on places that we go. It's kind of like clay. If you were to press your hands into clay, depending on how hard you press it into the clay, what kind of experience or different circumstances, impressions are left on these places. And like we had talked about some of the spirits that are there. These are people that, some of these people, that was their home. They loved it there. So there's different reasons that spirits, get kind of imprinted on places. But this was also a hotel. So a lot of people came in and out of these doors. A lot of people had a lot of different circumstances as to why they were coming in and out of these doors. So it's a lot of different experiences, a lot of different reasons as to why, I think personally, as to why the hotel is haunted.
Do you feel that some of these are residual, or do you feel that these, like, you could still communicate, they do answer your questions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So do you think it's a mixture of?
I personally believe it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you, let's just say someone's coming into this type of environment. They love it. They never did it. You've already said that there's definitely going to be some interaction. Is it scary interactions? Is it based on the level of a person's fear of something, I guess?
I think it's a very personalized thing as to how freaked out you get by things. I mean, I know people who, the minute they would have seen the flashlight turn on its own, that would have been it. They would have been out. Me personally, I'm fascinated by these things. When I felt the hand touch the top of my head and go all the way down my hair, that's kind of bizarre. It's weird. It's not something that you would expect, especially being in, that type of scenario, that environment. I wasn't freaked out by it. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was fascinating. If anything, these types of things that happen make me want to stay more and
Right.
make me want to experience more. But I think that is a very individualized thing as far as how freaked out or what freaks people out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I know that you said that this place is a very special place. You've been there several times
Yeah.
and you love it.
I do.
I know that when we were talking on the side piece before we ended up going live, I know that you had said that how wonderful these people who curate this, and how they assist with you, and they're just very informative. And is there like a museum of art and museum of artifacts that are actually at this location as well? Is there a museum in there?
I mean, the whole place is kind of a living museum.
Oh, true.
But when you walk into the main, I keep calling it the main, like, sitting area. I'm not sure if there is a specific
It's
name for it, but it's like the
parlor.
main. What's that?
It's
The parlor? I mean, it is a sitting room. It is a parlor. But there's a lot of photos on the walls. There is a photo of little Rosie. There are photos of previous owners. There's other parts of the hotel that there are. The hotel is not, they didn't take this building and put like a super slick modern twist on it. They really kept the spirit, I want to say they really kept the spirit alive. Total, no pun intended at all. But there are the photographs, there are pieces from different eras of the hotel functioning as a hotel throughout.
Do you the one thing that I always found it to be very saddening is the when children, especially so young,
Mm-hmm.
pass on, and it's very sad. It's very sad to me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's very sad to everybody. I'm not denying that at all. So, what are the mood levels? I mean, is it like excitement? We know because you're investigating. Is the mood levels like there's a sadness? Is there like a fear kind of thing with Adam being in the top? Like, do you feel, you know what I mean?
I mean, at least me personally, I can't speak for anybody else,
Right.
but there's definite shifts depending on where you are in the building. There is a definite shift from it when you are in the basement and when you go up 2 floors. There's a definite shift in that 3rd floor. There's a definite shift where on the main floor where all of the
Right.
rooms are. There are definite changes in how you feel about these different places, these different spots within the hotel. How much that's affected by excitement, fear, skepticism, that's again a very individualized thing.
Right.
But just feeling the environment of these different rooms, these different floors, these different spaces, I personally, I would say there is a very definite shift between different rooms, floors, etc.
Do you think that these spirits, do they know about each other, even if they're on different, like layered, meaning this one's from 18 something and then this one's from 1970? Like,
I believe so.
okay.
I believe so. There was one instance that I was there, and I mentioned this at the Calling the Beyond sessions at the Parlour, where there were 2 groups of people on different sides of a room, and each of them had spirit boxes running. And you're asking the questions, call and response for the spirit boxes, but it got to a point where the spirit boxes were having a conversation with each other without any human interaction. So, and I mean, they live there. They that's their home. So my personal feeling is yes, they do interact with each other. They know each other are there, and they coexist.
That's really very cool to know that
Yes.
there are many different levels of an age, and year that these people are living together in this mansion, right? I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We should do a group outing there.
100%. Let's go.
I think it's great. I think that would be great.
I'm all for it.
We could do we could do a seance there. I think that'd be kind of fun to do all of this.
One of the rooms that they just redid is the seance room.
Okay.
Beautiful room.
To talk about this, because I know that we talk about this in the calling of Beyond from Beyond. Like the history of seances is so engraved into people's lives back during that time frame of when it originated.
Yeah.
And the reasoning behind all of that was, they needed to know. They were curious. There was feeling of oh, please make me hear them, see them, do that. And I think that there was a lot of questions, but there was a lot of answers back then, because I think that people had an opportunity to be a little bit more open to that.
Well, yeah, when seances came about, and they really were given a boost by the spiritualism movement coming in. Right. And spiritualism in and of itself, you always saw a huge spike in spiritualism, seances, mediums, these type of things, after people went through a collective traumatic event. After the Civil War, huge demand. And I mean, part of the reason for that was there were so many people that they left and they never came back.
And they never got a chance to say, I love you, or goodbye.
Never got a chance to say goodbye. Family members didn't even know where they died. They didn't know where they were buried. It was just this huge hole just ripped in people's lives. So to be given the opportunity and to have somebody say, like we touched on earlier, how there was this means of closure. That's what a lot of these people were looking for. It happened again after World War I, after World War II, these collective traumatic events that lead to these huge spikes in people looking for that type of interaction, that type of confirmation. And it's for comfort a lot of the time.
Right. Well, I'm sure they did it during Titanic then. That time frame.
I'm sure
of that. It's kind of it's very interesting to understand the dynamics of all of this type of thing. And like you said, and like I say all the time, you could go somewhere and maybe there isn't any interaction, but that doesn't mean that it just doesn't mean that they're willing to talk at that point.
They're not feeling it.
They're not on all 7.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing too.
No.
And I mean, and that's something else to understand with the Shanley too, is like I had mentioned before, this isn't a place where there's 2 spirits. There's a lot going on in this building. So my biggest, not my biggest, but a big piece of advice that I would tell people if they go to the Shanley is explore the whole building. Right. Every place you can go, because if you go into one room and that room just happens to not be active, because as you said, they're not there to showboat. They're not there for you to come in and demand tricks of them, and then but explore every room, explore every building, and you will have a wide variety of experiences to look back on with it.
Well, that's when anybody that does investigating or anybody that talks like a psychic or a medium, they always say respect the ghost, respect the spirit, respect them, respect the space. You're a guest in their space, so you would expect that to make sure you're doing exactly the same thing to them.
100%.
Let's see, what other experiences, do you feel like a bigger group had more experiences, or did you feel that you got more experiences individually on your own, like with you and Jay?
I mean, it depends, because I've been there, like I said, I've been there 5 times. Sometimes have been with a very large group. There was one time Jay and I were there. We were the only people in the whole building. And, we had a lot of experiences there, too. I think a lot of it depends on what you're looking for when you go there. I think a lot of it has to do with how open-minded you are when you go there. Anybody who goes to, and this doesn't just mean for the Shanley, anybody who goes to any haunted location, if they go in there with this brick wall mentality of, I don't believe and you're not going to convince me, then why would they? They're not gonna, they don't care if they're gonna convince you or not.
Right.
It doesn't matter to them.
No, it doesn't.
But I mean, I've had with the hair and the hand on my hair, that was with a small group. I've been there with a much bigger group where we were all sitting in the gentleman's quarters where I talked about the card game. I've been there just myself and Jay, and we've had all kinds of crazy experiences there. It really, I mean, there's something for everybody at the Shanley, well, paranormal wise.
Well, I have two questions.
Sure.
And I think I know what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that, people come in, and I hate to say it like the Wolfman, like people with true hearts and
Mm-hmm.
real open minds will have more of an opportunity to get like an experience that's probably grander. Like, I do believe that people come into a space and there is something that spirit sees, feels from that person, and there's more of a connection with an individual than there might be with with people. There might be more interact. Like, I think that if someone reminded someone of their child or their ex-husband, mm-hmm. or their like widowed someone, I think that there is a connection. Do you think that's this like what you feel? Like, do you feel that as well?
I believe all spirits are able to read us and how we are. And I mean, there are people that do that too, that are just very, very good at gauging the people who they're interacting with, that are very good at just reading their energy. And I mean that both in a more kind of metaphysical way, but also just being able to feel that person out. My personal belief is when these spirits interact with these humans, they are able to read able to read us on a very different level than what we are able to do.
Right.
Anybody who practices mediumship or is a psychic, my personal belief is that they are able to tell how open you are. They are able to tell this person is someone I can give my message to safely and trusting. They are able to read that of people. And you see that all with animals, right, too, where animals will walk up to people because they're able to sense that about people. So I definitely believe, we've talked about how everybody has energy. Everybody has this kind of their own little personal energy and atmosphere and environment that they carry around with them. I believe 100% that they are able to gauge that and have an idea as to who they are interacting with and choose whether to interact with them or not.
Right. Mm-hmm. So do you believe that, like, you had gone with Scott, mm-hmm. and if you guys don't know, and Scott Davis is a psychic medium. He's mm-hmm. a very great guy. He went with you, or you went with him, mm-hmm. whatever, as a group. Do you feel that there was more interaction with him in that situation? Because I know he's a really nice guy. I'm sure they all went, yeah.
Well, the thing is, the spirits at the Shanley, they know Scott. And when I say they know Scott, I mean when Scott first went there, and there is a video clip of this that he has up online, that he did not hear it at the time, where I believe this was his first visit to the Shanley. He's walking past down one of the hallway, and you hear it after the fact. They say his full name on this clip. And since then, it happened once when I was there, and when it was, I was just there with a smaller group of people and Scott wasn't there. They've said his name through my equipment. I know other people that they've been there without Scott and they've said his name, so they know Scott. they're very friendly with Scott. Like, so yeah, so I believe it would definitely enhance a visit if you're there with Scott, because they're friends.
Right, and I understand that. that. We want to know what that there is attachments and there's things going on in their lives right at that might be that they're not alive, but they're unalive or whatever you have to say. But to know that, but then to know somebody else on this realm where they used to be and ask questions or answer questions, I think it's really amazing. And I can understand why they would have conversations with Scott and want to.
Yeah. I'm sure Scott walks in the door and it's just like a bunch of them, just like, oh, hey,
like
he's back. Exactly.
So if you were going to go, what would you rate this on a 1 to 10 in your scale?
What would I rate the Shanley?
Yeah.
About 10.
Okay.
10. Without question. I've been to a lot of haunted locations. I've been to a lot of places that are historic and haunted. It's just something I love. I love going to these places, even if it's just like an old historic building that doesn't have any official haunted history to it. You know, I've been to a lot of these places, and the Shanley has just hands down. It has blown every experience out of the water. For so many reasons, right down to, I mean, like I said, the staff, they're just so wonderful and welcoming, and they're just such an absolute pleasure to be around and to experience the place. How they've kept the place, the whole environment of it, the level of activity, the variation in activity, the consistency of activity. It's one of my favorite places. I like I said right in the beginning, my personal opinion, I firmly believe in any conversation about haunted locations in the United States, the Shanley deserves to be top 10, top 5 in any one of those conversations, hands down.
That's awesome. Yeah. You know, a little off topic, but sort of sticking with the topic, and you'll understand it as I go.
Okay.
So we ended up going with a specific a group of people. You know, it was just from a certain time to like, 2, 3 in the morning kind of thing. They were very professional, the whole thing, and they told you certain dynamics of the place from like we did at the beginning, the history side of it, everything that was historic, why this made this place such a historical place, right? And then they say, bye, go do your investigation on your own.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of things on okay, there you go. Sorry, Rachel. Go ahead. So anyway, I gotta hide that. Okay. So I was hearing and like seeing weird things. And I was like, oh, well, I think I'm nuts. I'm not saying anything. So we all gathered together and we said some stuff. I still didn't say anything. Right. So we went to the next as a group, and I swear every time I would be like, and they would be like, John, what do you see? And I'm like, nothing. I see nothing. I'm nothing. And they're like, just tell us. So as I went, I saw an apparition walking with a baby in its hand. I heard crying prior to that.
Okay.
And I said, I just saw a woman holding a baby, but before that, she walked by the little thing because we were in a jail.
Okay.
And then I was like, why am I hearing a baby cry? And they go, you would. It's a debtor's prison. And back then, everybody.
There you go. And everybody went.
Everybody was in there. I was like, oh. So then I started, maybe I'm not that. But things would touch me. And like, I'm very focused when I do these things. Like when I go, I like to pay attention. You paid money and let's experience it. But people don't realize like that. Like you see something, you're like, oh my God. Like,
oh yeah.
So they just kept focused on me because I was they were
You became the like
they were
group
very
canary in the coal mine.
they were very interactive to me and Rick. We were experiencing these great things, and it was a wonderful experience. And being in two certain situations, I get it. Like
Hmm.
I think that that old movie, the Haunting. It's like, did you ever notice that you catch something when you're not looking, or it just the corner of your eye?
Oh yeah,
And I think
100%.
that those are amazing experiences, and to
Yeah,
know that you're going to be able to go and have an opportunity to experience something. If you love it, you'll love this place based off of what I get from you and to other people that I've
yeah.
spoken to. So I'm excited about that. So we put that the haunted Shanley Hotel.com on the bottom. There it is, going
Yep.
across this chat.
And I know,
Is
like,
there,
I talked about some of my experiences that my friends had, but if you go to the Shanley website, there is a specific tab for evidence, and how, like, the EVPs that I talked about Rosie, those are in there. There's photos, there's videos. They're very, very conscious of sharing the evidence. So go to their website and check out the evidence tab. It's
that's
great.
really cool.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this stuff, and I love the idea that we came up with again to do this, because I feel like people want to do some fun stuff, but it's costly, and you could drive a couple hours to go
Yeah.
experience something, and then either stay or whatever. But you can make it like a haunted traveling road trips.
It's an experience.
So that's
100%.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say in regards to our first episode, the haunted Shanley, that you might not have?
I mean, as far as the Shanley itself, I mean, what I could sit here and sing the praises of the Shanley forever. It's like I said, it's an amazing place. The staff is wonderful. It really is. If this is something you enjoy, if you enjoy this idea of paranormal investigations, if you this is something you want to experience and go and start going to places, this place is definitely on your list. 100%. As far as this series, this haunted road trip series, I think this is a great idea. Just like you said, there. I mean, this is something that people have a lot of interest in,
Yes.
but it's also something that um, I feel like it's something that is very helpful if people have a trusted source of places to go and thought out information and sharing these places. It's not people going, like, if you would go on Google, it's not something that you're going to see on a website that might just be somebody trying to amp up a place to make money off of. So this idea of giving people ideas, places, options, and discussing these places that are haunted, that are historical, that have a lot to offer people. I love this idea. I think this is a great idea. I'm very thankful. I thank you 1,000 times for letting me do the first episode about my favorite place, the Shanley,
Well,
and
you're going
I
to
think
be
this is going to be a lot of fun.
you're going to be with us on this journey, and I'm excited.
Me too.
There's a couple of things. First of all, I'm grateful that you understood what I was trying to put out there. Plus, it's exciting to talk about all of these places and
Yeah.
how different they are based off of architectural or the ghosts or the spirits that they have in the
Mm-hmm.
location, but they really are the same. They're wandering souls that uh, want to interact
Mm-hmm.
with people that come there and are respectful, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So if anybody else has any ideas or thoughts that we can throw into the rotation, please DM us and we will try to see if we can do that. I want us to have fun with this. I want
Yeah.
people to interact with it. If you've been to any of the locations, share your thoughts. your experiences. I think that's really great. I want it to be a little interactive with it because I think that it's exciting. Like people have questions. We're just sitting there rambling about places that we like. You
Should
know,
we, could you, do you think it's a good idea to maybe have on your Facebook page a post for each place that's discussed, and then anybody who has had experiences or questions can ask and share in the comments?
we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Awesome.
So we could have some ideas and some questions to answer.
Yeah.
Some of that, you know, let's throw some. Let's just say we're going to talk about some of these ideas. I think I'll interact with you, John. Okay, Jay, me and you. It's me and Jay. And if you guys don't know, Jay is Sarah's boyfriend, and he's awesome. So just saying. So I know that Genevieve was very upset that she wanted to be a part of this because I think it's great. I know you have ideas and I have ideas and she has ideas and thoughts on it. And I think that as we go along, I think it's going to be a real journey through.
It's going to be our own type of road trip, going through all these places.
And if anybody didn't know, Jay is delightful.
Delightful.
He's delightful. But I just think it's kind of interesting to go through these things because everybody's experiences are different. And I think everybody's experiences could be more or less or not at all. Yep. But I just think they are great. I think that, you know, I'm sure the Shanley has great places to eat. I don't know. Is there a restaurant inside the place?
There are. It's not inside the place, but there are restaurants nearby.
Okay. So the people could walk around and maybe do some fun stuff in Antique and then maybe go.
Talking about the tab of the evidence on their website, they also have a tab for like things to do in the area.
That's awesome. That really is awesome. And we have to do a group thing to do this.
I'm in. Just tell me when. I'll call them tomorrow. Let's go.
We can open it up, and if anybody else wants to do, we could do a paranormal road trip if we wanted to go and experience something that you love. Yeah. I think that'd be great. That'd be really fun. So what are some of the ideas of upcoming? And when I say upcoming, hold on. So we're going to try to do this as regularly as we can. I mean, because of everything that's busy.
Sorry.
Oh, well, there you go. Jay just said, "Can we visit the prison Son of Sam?" Is that?
It's by the Shanley.
Yeah. I just think it's kind of interesting to just, you know, do what we have to do, talk about what we want to talk about with it, and I forgot what I was going to say because Jay confused me. But whatever. So it's not going to be as regular, but it will be regular. Like it could be every 2 weeks we'll do something. Because I think
there's plenty to talk about. There's definitely no shortage of places to discuss. So.
No, there is not. And, just so you are aware, Sarah, Genevieve, and I will make sure that we bring you to places that are not threatening, that they're safer places that are not in the woods somewhere doing a witch thing. So don't worry about that.
No, this is all going to be visitable.
Right.
You know, places.
Well, what do you
think? And not like trespassing, like places that welcome you to visit.
You're not like it with a camera going, grab the camera, you know, running with cops.
Yeah.
I think they're reputable, respectful places, and you know, we're going to keep in mind everybody's safety. So I just wanted people to be aware of that as well. We're not sending you to go and have problems. Anyway, I'd be afraid you'd leave me there, John. I would not leave you, Mother Mary. Anyway, I what are some of the places that you want to talk about? Like, just throw
Oh
out
Lord,
them.
that I want to talk about. I mean, anywhere in New England is kind of like
Ah,
my specialty. That's you know, said I'm a historian, and that's really where a lot of my focus is early New England. And I mean, you talk about no shortage of places. New England. But I mean, it's not just New England. There's lots and lots of places. I know Genevieve is familiar with New Orleans. There's no shortage of places in New Orleans, but I mean, there's places throughout this whole country.
absolutely.
So I'm totally open to any place that we want to discuss.
I mean, I would love to. I mean, I love New England for many reasons, as you know.
Hmm.
Salem.
Yeah,
I've been to Falls River. I stayed in the Lizzie Board and Bed and Breakfast, and that's kind of an
nice.
interesting conversation to have because I think it's one of many unsolved. Just like I'm fascinated by Jack the Ripper.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we love those. That could be our international series. No, I'm kidding.
There we go. The
But,
global series.
I'm just excited about having an opportunity to go back and forth and ask questions and talk about some things. And I want to make this as interactive. To make it a summer of haunting.
Oh, it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time, and we're all going to learn about different places and sharing experiences, and it's just, I'm excited. It's going to be good.
It is. It's great.
Yeah.
So just as I'm giving a shameful plug here.
Mm-hmm.
So the Parlour on the 20th, we will have another special night event with Sarah Blake. And it's calling the Spirits, and it is, and I hate to say it because it's kind of funny, but it is. It's a tour de France, and it's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. Yeah.
It shows, but I love the fact that what you did with it. You
Thank you.
listened, we talked, we got it, you got it, and it is really. When we ended up trying it out to listen to get to a point, it was 4 hours. Other people ended up it was 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
The spirits that inhabit our space have been very vocal, and I think it's because we talk to them, we say hello to them, we treat them like they're still physically in front of our space. We respect them.
Yeah.
But also there's a relationship that I guess is being built with the spirit side. So they do want to talk.
Yeah. I mean, they know you guys, they know your names. They've said your names before. So.
But I love how you ended up taking this experience and talking about the who, the what, the why, the where, right? Mm-hmm. The items that were actually used during that time frame, and you give people an opportunity to use them.
100%.
Your transition was into Ouija boards and then more modern styled forms of communication to communicate to the spirit.
Yep. We start at the beginning with when they started with the onset of spiritualism. And we go through different steps, different tools, look at how they advanced, look at how people use them in order to come to this this kind of universal objective that they've had the whole time of communicating with those who have passed. And we go from the beginning all the way up to the gadgets and things that you see on TV today.
Absolutely. And the best part of the whole thing is it's a very small group, 10 people.
Yes.
And we wanted to make sure that you're not forced, but you have every right to be involved in this and the ability to use and try every piece of tools that are just given during this wonderful event.
Absolutely. So you don't have to be super hands-on, but there is absolutely the opportunity to really dig in and have a one-on-one trying an experience of all of these different tools from all these different eras.
I think that when people ended up having these types of experiences in the beginning, I think it's all about shyness. And I think that, like, I don't know these people. What am I going to make?
Yeah.
But I think as you go along, like you do in your discussion, I think it opened up people to be a little bit more.
Well,
So by the time it went at the end, everybody's doing all this
well,
stuff.
it's funny. You'll see. I mean, I've experienced this on a lot of investigations. When you start sharing these paranormal experiences, all of a sudden you're all friends. Like if you're at going back to the Shanley, you might be on one of their public ghost hunts where it's you and people you don't know. By the time you all leave the next morning, you are buddies.
Right.
Because you're having this shared experience type of thing. So it's a good time.
And I love the fact of that. And I love the fact that, when people come, and I think that, and you would probably agree, that if the experiences change based off the people that are in the environment
Oh
at
yeah,
that time, right?
100%, 100%.
You could be talking to someone in the parlor, or you could be talking to someone that, wanted to come and talk from yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
the
think,
thing with the calling the beyond, it's we have that foundation. There's that structure of here is the history, here is the tools, here is the interaction. But when you have that type of experience, that's all we're providing. Everything else comes from everybody who's come in the door that night.
right. It's all
So it has that ability to be wildly different every single time it's done.
Come in, experience this. It's really worth it really is worth the experience. I hate to say it's a double word, but it really is, because I just think that it was well received, and I think there is a couple more spots that are left, and I think that it's wonderful, and I think that you guys should come and experience this as well. So, is there anything else you want to talk about, plug, say, besides Jay is a delight?
Delight. No, I mean, like I said, I'm really looking forward to this series. I'm super excited and thankful that you let me start it with one of my absolute favorite places, and this is going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
Just so you know, you are one of my favorite people. So,
oh, John, you're the best.
I just love, but what I love is the piece of it that that the side of the paranormal side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you are the historical side, and then to incorporate the two together, I think it's really it really is great, because there's definitely, call me strawberry pie because I'm sweet as hell. Oh Lord, what are they? Yeah. But I love the fact of the two mashups. I love the fact of the two together, because
I mean they really unfortunately there are a lot of like historic sites that they're not allowed, or they just flat out refuse to talk if there's anything. History and the paranormal should be such good friends. And they are such good friends.
I totally agree on that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to go on this journey. I hope that everybody that is on it or comes to watch it later on experience, go, keep an eye out. We might be doing something. We'll talk to Genevieve about maybe a bunch of us going up and renting the space and going on our little adventure together.
I should point out, as far as booking with the Shanley, they do tend to be booked out a couple months. So just wanted to put that out there for anybody.
I get it. Yeah. I think that it'll be really cool. So
yeah,
and check the evidence. Go to the Shanley, the Haunted Shanley Hotel.com.
And if you've been to the Shanley, John, if you're gonna put up that post about it on Facebook or whatever, if you do get a chance to put that up, and if anybody has been to the Shanley, share your experiences in the comments.
Right. I think that'd be awesome. Like I said, you can always send us a DM and let us know what you guys would like to hear us talk about or find out information, or we're open to everything, because I think that, you know, we're all in this car together and we're traveling somewhere.
Going
So
somewhere.
we're going somewhere, Haunted. I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time on Parlor Tea. Bye, guys. Thank
Bye
you.
all. Good night.
Good night.